All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for coming out to the growth breakout session. This one is about autonomous opportunity identification, but really it's about NoticesIQ and how we've built NoticesIQ and how we want you guys to leverage it to win more business. So I'm Grant Gearhart. You guys hopefully saw me earlier, but I'm going to be leading this session. We're also going to have Steven and PJ come up here in a bit. But we're really going to start off today with why we built NoticesIQ. You heard me allude to it in the earlier session, but really dive a little bit deeper into that. And then number two, just go over quick facts about NoticesIQ, the features of it, why we are excited by it. And then really the meat of this is the demo. What we have today. And then of course, next, what's on the horizon. We're always talking about what's next. And then finally, we're going to have PJ from American Roll-On Roll-Off Carrier Group, or ARC as we call them for much shorter. Him and Steven are going to come up and talk about what their implementation was like. Ashish gave ARC a little bit of a shout out, but I'll give him a much bigger one. PJ and the ARC team were instrumental in the initial development of NoticesIQ. He truly met with me every day for about 3 months, so whether he wanted to or not. So they were really helpful. They got us to where we need to be, and it was a great partnership. So we're really excited to have PJ here to talk with us as well. So when we talk about task order management, I like to talk about where we came from because FedTom, as we knew it back then, really was created basically around the time I started at TechnoMile. So about 8 years ago, it was actually my very first project here at TechnoMile was implementing FedTom to some of our clients. And so I always had a little bit of an affinity for it, but it definitely had its drawbacks. So you can see this slide here. It says limited range for emails, limited range for government portals. So really, when we're talking about this, it meant that emails we were receiving, they had to be templated. So we supported some of the bigger GWACs, but any of the smaller ones or any smaller IDIQs, realistically, we weren't supporting. And on top of that, if the government ever changed their email notice, as the government they do from time to time, it broke the system, and it required a whole CRM deployment. It required a lot of effort to get that back up and running for all of you in the product. And so it really became an unscalable solution that we wanted to make sure we fixed. And a similar thing on the government portal side. So historically, we've pretty much supported eBuy, eGOS as well, but anyway, primarily eBuy. And as I mentioned, now that we have a lot more customers, you guys have a lot more vehicles across a wider range of government, we want to be able to support more and have a system that easily scales with you guys to make sure that we can adjust that. And then this right side kind of shows you it was all housed within the CRM. So whether you're on Salesforce or Dynamics, that was really where the product was built, and that's where most of the ingestion piece happened. All that data transformation happened on the CRM, and that limited us from what we were doing because we were, of course, building on someone else's platform, limited by their technology. And so we wanted to revamp that process. So with that, we built NoticesIQ. And that's really where this middle box comes in. So it's all moved out to the GovSearch AI platform. You'll notice now government emails, government portals, it no longer says limited next to them. So emails, doesn't really matter what type. So to us, when we receive an email that needs to be ingested, we look for 3 pieces of information. We look for an ID, a title, and a due date of some sort, a response due date, proposal due date, whatever it may be. That helps us know that it's a real email and not spam. As soon as you set up an email, spam starts coming in. So we don't want to turn NoticesIQ just into your personal inbox where you see 2 real emails and 20 fake ones. So we do have those initial filters set up to hopefully help you guys cut through that noise. But if we find those pieces of information, we're ingesting it, we're going through the emails, we're going through the documents, and we're going to pull it into NoticesIQ. And then similar thing for the portals. So portals is always a little tricky saying that we support all of them. We definitely support a lot more than we used to. When it comes to portals, if they're behind, CAT cards or these higher elevated security measures, of course, we do not have access to them. We're not breaking any laws to get these notices, so we will not be able to get access to those. We have seen some customers do some workarounds in this area, though, in that basically you can log into these portals, and you can essentially just send the notices that you receive on those portals as emails into the system and still receive the benefits of NoticesIQ. It will still go through the whole ingestion process, and we'll pull out the key details, key capabilities, and still ingest that notice. So again, still hopefully saving you time, as well as consolidating all these notices into one spot. And so on top of that, again, the middle box now, this is where all of GovSearch AI lives, so it's not just NoticesIQ. And so we're able to kind of hook up this public data, which is the GovSearch AI side of things, the past performance, the history, the agencies, the contacts that we have, and really hook this up to the NoticesIQ data, providing them much more valuable information than we ever could before when it was directly in your CRM. And all of this, of course, sits out on our platform, which has its FedRAMP moderate equivalency. So obviously security is very important. We'll talk about that more in a bit, but really wanted to make sure we called that out. And then it still connects to your growth CRM. So on the right side over there, you'll still see that growth CRM. So these can all come through as a spark into your CRM to make sure that you guys can still then add it to your pipeline and pursue it as you would. But a lot of clients in the past, especially if you have the platform version of the product, these notices were coming in directly as growth opportunities, and they tended to muddy the waters when it came to your pipeline and what was really in your pipeline. And so we wanted to make sure we cleaned that up and provided a much simpler way for you guys to actually add only real opportunities into your pipeline. So before I head into the demo, which is right after this, I did want to just call out some of these. Again, I've talked through most of these, but we do feel that we are the most comprehensive task order sources out there in the market. So if we can get access to the notice, we're going to ingest it. And then second is the saving time. So as I mentioned in the earlier session, we're not just ingesting the base details and just showing you an email in the system. And we're not just taking the 5 fields that eBuy gives you and displaying it back to you. Now we're actually going through the record. We're going through its, the free text, if there's a description, if there's attachments. We're going through the whole thing and really extracting that next level of data for you guys to make sure that when you see the record, it's actually been gone through and you guys can actually tell what it's about without hopefully having to read through every single page of the notice. And then next up there is the cost aspect. So this has been a common theme as well. There's a lot of customers who have teams of people who they need access to the task orders, but they don't necessarily, they're not always involved in the rest of the opportunity process. They might be, and if you are, we'd love for you to still have a growth license, but if you just need access to know that notices are coming out, know when it came out, you can get all this with access to GovSearch AI. GovSearch AI and therefore NoticesIQ are all enterprise-based licensing. So anyone in your company with a company-issued email is able to review these notices out on the GovSearch AI platform. And you can still send it through as a Spark. You can add as a Spark. That's really where your workflow is going to end if you don't have a growth license. But anyway, they can still be very much a part of the process without having to need a full CRM license, which we know can be cost prohibitive to some companies. And then last, we touched a little bit on security, but of course, when it comes to these private opportunities and data sources, you guys are very conscious of security, and so are we. So we worked hard this year to make sure that we got our FedRAMP moderate equivalency. Aaron and the team really put in a lot of time and energy to make sure that we got that, and we were able to achieve that. So we feel really confident about our security. We're able to handle CUI data storage and things like that. And again, for many of our clients who are not on GCC high environments with their CRM, this can also be a big benefit because now you don't have to worry about the CUI or these non-compliant data storage points. So, all right. That said, I'm just going to dive right into the demo. And let's make sure I pull it up. I'm going to refresh because I know I'm going to run into a timeout issue otherwise. So I'm going to demo NoticesIQ today out of the new, ooh, that's blurry. Can you guys see that all right? All right, it's coming up a little bit. I'm going to demo it out of the new GovSearch AI framework. So if you were here for the last session, the wrapper looks the same. Hopefully that's not as blurry for you guys, but sorry if it is. So if you have NoticesIQ today, the middle part looks the same. It's just really the wrapper that looks different in this case because it's obviously on the new GovSearch AI platform. But when we were first creating and designing NoticesIQ, one of the things we did first was this dashboard. And we have a history of not having people know what to do when they log into the system for the first time, especially when it comes to growth and CRMs. You kind of come to a home page and then you kind of just sit there and say, where do I go? So we wanted to make sure that we had some indicators for where you can go. So up here at the top, we have 4 main boxes that kind of help the user navigate the system, not just the first time, but after that as well. So mainly that main green one right there, which shows you new task orders. And so that'll show you any new task orders that have been ingested in the last 30 days in this case. The ones beside it as well, so any notice that you're tracking, we'll get to that in a little bit. Any that have been converted to a Spark, so if you added them to the growth CRM, you'll be able to see those. And this is across the company, so it's not you as an individual, at least for the converted to Spark. So you'll easily be able to see that 4 of your 9 new task orders have been converted to a Spark. And then any notices that anyone else in your company is tracking as well. Again, because this is no longer tethered to the CRM, we want to make sure everyone in the company can have all this information and quickly make decisions and see who is pursuing what and how that goes. Right below that then, of course, is recently viewed task orders. So this will help you just navigate the system back to where you've been before, and then recently saved searches. So if you've saved a search that you continually run every time you log into the system, great. You can go ahead and just click on that and run it from there. So I just have my Seaport one run there, but nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and click on New Task Orders. And this will take us to our task order list view. So this is where all the task orders in the system reside. You, of course, can do filtering and searching across this. You can also this is just new ones in general. So right now it's sorted by due date. We could, of course, change that to be sorted by release date if we want. But you can see down here on the list view the fields that are involved. As this product is fairly new over the past year, we have put a lot of time and effort into listening to our customers who have been onboarded onto this. So we've made changes pretty rapidly as we go. So again, if you get onboarded and you have changes and we like those changes, which we often do, we get to them pretty quickly. So when we initially rolled this out, the list view didn't quite look like this, but we had some clients say, hey, it'd be really great if you put the contract number in there, if you put the exact source, if it's from email or from eBuy, it would really help us out. And so we said, okay, great, let's make those changes and get them added. So we are very receptive when it comes to good ideas from anyone inside or outside the company. Additionally, you'll see obviously some tags here. So we have active and we have Spark. Spark, of course, lets you know that it has been moved to your growth CRM as a Spark, so that someone has marked it, that they're ready to go, they're interested in that task order. For those of you out there that, again, have the current FedTom iteration, there is the ability to automatically convert these notices into Sparks when they come in. Many of you are just used to seeing them in your CRM, and so that is available to you as well. If you'd rather just review them as Sparks in your CRM, that is perfectly fine with us. We have an admin panel for you all to create that. You can also create it so that only certain ones get added to your CRM. So if you know that there's a certain send code on eBuy that every time a notice comes out, you want to make sure it gets added as a Spark, we can make that happen as well. But all right, let me talk real quick about the filters up here. So we do have the filters as well. So it's going to filter on the fields that you saw there. So if you have multiple vehicles, if you have a different agency you're looking for, you can search across all of that. We did have capabilities as well. Let's do, I think it's systems engineering. As always with these Tom demos, we're not on vehicles, so it's a little hard for us to get real data in the system. So I have a pretty small set of data in here. But you're able to search across various fields and pull back task orders that obviously meet your criteria, and then you can dive kind of deeper into them. So talking about capabilities, again, that's kind of that next level that we're going down to. It's not just looking at the NAICS or POC code. It's actually going to go through, whether it's the email, the description, the attachments, and try and associate it with the capability. These capabilities are maintained by us here at TechnoMile, so we are always looking and adding to them as we find new ones that come out within the government, but these are the capabilities list. And a common question we hear, of course, is can we add our own? We're working on it, but right now we maintain the list, but we are looking for ways to let you guys also add capabilities that you are seeing out there that we don't necessarily have. All right, let me go ahead and click into a record. All right, so I've opened my record, and there's quite a bit going on. So in the main panel, you'll of course see key information about it. You'll see the customer, and you'll notice that you see a couple levels of customer. Again, this is connecting this data up to our GovSearch AI platform. So in GovSearch AI, on the left side over here, you'll see things like agencies and vendors. This is actually linking it to our hierarchy. So when this gets added to your system as a Spark, it will actually make that linkage to your accounts as well. So in this case, this is Navy, but this means it can actually make that account link as well so that your team doesn't just have to see text. It will help you a lot with reporting and getting more out of the system if it can actually link to your account. So even if you don't call your account Department of the Navy, that's what the GovSearch AI connectors are there for. They can help make that linkage for you guys. Down below, we can see either Spark status, bid status, capabilities as well. So again, this one is not converted. We'll convert this at the very end here. Any summary, this is an AI-generated summary. When I look at this, I like to say that not one thing or nothing basically is AI generated. So all these fields, they could be coming from our large language model. It really depends on the source. So for places like eBuy, we of course get some of these data points directly from eBuy, so we don't need to use a large language model for it. But for the other ones, when we don't receive them, whether it's via email or we're just looking for additional fields on eBuy, we are sending that whole record and we are trying to enhance the notice with as much information as we can possibly find. Down below the summary is the notice email. So again, this is feedback from clients. So they basically said, it's great that you ingested this email, but I never saw the original email and it would really help me if I could see it. So we said, all right, that makes sense. Let's make sure that you guys can see the original email so that if you ever want to go back and reference it, it's there, you can see it. So that's why we added the notice email. Again, when something like Mila gets added, which we'll talk about in a bit, Mila will also have access to the original email, and it will just help with that information. Down below that, we have any contacts that were added. Again, as this is a fake opportunity that I created. These are not real people, so please do not text or call them. I do not know whose phone numbers they are. So, but it is going to extract that as well. So it is always looking to fill out these details, and if it finds people and their contact information, it's going to pull them out. And again, all this information gets translated into your CRM. So they all can come through. You can get contacts added. We're really trying to stop you guys from having to hand jam information in to anywhere. On the right side over here, you can see down there is Notes. Notes, again, because this tool is designed to be enterprise-wide, it doesn't need a CRM license. We wanted to at least have an area for people to communicate on the tool, not rely so much on Teams or Slack or whatever you use. And so this is where you can leave notes on task orders. And so it is not nearly as robust as something like Chatter. You cannot @mention people. You can't create polls, but you can still leave notes for people to let them know what you've done, who you've talked to, that kind of information. And again, once this is translated into a Spark, you can still see that on the Spark record. So it doesn't fully carry through and make a Chatter post, but you can still see it in the CRM to easily access. All right, coming back up to the top, a couple things I want to touch on. There is this subscribe button, so I'm already subscribed to it, but once you subscribe to a notice, that allows you to receive updates on it. So if the government releases an amendment, modification, whatever it may be to this notice, and you are subscribed, you will get an email that tells you that an amendment has been released. So this is a good way to keep up to date with the task orders that you're really interested in. It also will add it to that list view that we saw at the very start, the My Subscribe notices. So it's a good way to quickly get back to task orders that you're actually interested in and make sure that you stay up to date on them. I'm going to skip over the next two buttons. I know there's this big fancy generate proposal button, but I was told not to click on it until the P1AI session later today, so I will not be doing that. There's one more thing I want to talk through here before I do create Spark. Notify team. So this is our way of letting you, again, expand these task orders out and engage the broader team. So many of our clients, the way they handle task orders is they have one or two people, a small team usually, reviewing the notices that come in. And then if they think it meets certain criteria, they're going to push it out to certain teams who are responsible for that, either capability, that agency, whatever it may be. And so this is really a good way for them to quickly get these notices out and make sure that everybody who needs to see them can have eyes on them. So this will look across your users in GovSearch AI, or in NoticesIQ as well, and make sure that you can quickly send them a notice. You're also able to set up teams, so you do not have to manually add every single person every single time. We only have the TechnoMile management team with probably me as the only member, but your admins are able to set up teams so that you guys can quickly send these notices out. And you can add a little message here, and they get an email that says, hey, Grant wants you to look at this notice. Please go review it. All right, and then last but certainly not least is the Create Spark button. So the Create Spark is really around getting this into your CRM. So we're about to go back to the slides for a second to talk about what a Spark is, but this is how NoticesIQ and your growth CRM really connect. So this is the bridge, the area that we push data into so that we don't have to worry about directly editing your pipeline. Again, there's half the people who say, yes, please update my pipeline, and half who very, very much are against it and get mad when we update their pipeline. So we stopped doing it. But we have the Spark object. We are able to push data into it. You guys are then able to see that data in your CRM. interact with it. You can customize the Spark object just like you have the opportunity object to a certain extent. Please do not make it a clone of your opportunity object. That would be bad. But that way, we can keep pushing our data through as we get updates, and then you guys can see it side by side in your CRM. So, all right. So, really fast before I go over Sparks, that is basically NoticesIQ standard in a nutshell. So, again, if you are a Growth Suite customer, you have access to everything I've shown you. So, again, Steven's right over there. He'll be on stage in a second. Talk to him and his team. Make sure you get added to the list if you've not already been upgraded. All right, let me come back here. Nope, not that one. This one? Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about a Spark. If you've been on webinars the past year, you probably hear me talk about this every single time, but we think it's important, so that's why I want to make sure I keep touching on it. Sparks are essentially GovCon leads, but a lead in the CRM world, in Salesforce or Dynamics, has a very specific commercial connotation. It's usually more of like a person rather than an opportunity. And so when it came to the GovCon world, we wanted to create kind of our own spin on it. And so to us, pretty much any data source can become a Spark. So you can see here the list. It's not just for NoticesIQ, it's for GovSearch AI as well. All these sources get funneled into the TechnoMile platform, into GovSearch AI using the Elevate AI service. And then you guys are able to push them through as a lead. We're, of course, working through ways that can become easier and auto-push them to leads, similar to the NoticesIQ, but that's really kind of the life cycle of it. Once it becomes a Spark within your Growth Suite, then you can easily convert that into an opportunity, and they stay linked basically forever at that point. All right, now for the fun stuff. So, on the horizon for NoticesIQ, there's a couple things that I want to discuss, starting, of course, with Mila. So, you guys heard a little bit about Mila in the main session earlier, but super excited about Mila. I think it's going to really help all of you a lot when it comes to reviewing these task orders and diving deeper into them. So again, Mila is your digital assistant. She has access to the underlying notice, its attachments. They are all available for Mila to access and ask. You can ask questions, really rapid analysis. Like Mai was mentioning, you can ask Mila to build you a table of requirements that are listed in it, and Mila can do that. So we really think that Mila is going to be a game changer, not just for notices, but for everywhere. But really excited about bringing it to notices as well, so you guys can leverage Mila. The next two are probably slightly more boring, but exciting to me. So these are roles and permissions. So as we have started to build more on the GovSearch AI platform, we get more and more requests for platform-based, features. And so this includes things like roles and permissions. So as soon as we started rolling out NoticesIQ, we had people asking, okay, can I onboard this business unit? And they can see, Oasis and Alliant, but I want to onboard this one. And they only care about Soup, but they shouldn't see each other's. And the answer today is no. Everyone sees everything because we believe in opening that data up. But we recognize that people want to be able to lock that down. So on the horizon for notices is a whole roles and permissions module. This will allow you, if you are the admin of your tool, if you're not, then you have to talk to your admin, but this will allow you to actually help make that platform more suitable for you and your company and make sure that people can only see what they want to see. So it's going to be more than just visibility. It's also going to be around functionality. We're never going to be as complex as something like Salesforce, I promise. I don't want to do that. But we will give you guys the ability to make sure that roles and permissions are set up how you guys want them to be able to do it. And then the last one, again, no fancy pictures for this one, but workflows and reporting. As soon as you release something around NoticesIQ and around getting in task orders, people start to ask, where are my reports? Again, there is no reporting engine on GovSearch AI today, so that is what we are working on building and making sure that you guys can get that information back out of the system. Historically, we'd obviously been able to leverage Salesforce and Dynamics and their built-in reporting engines, but as we move more and more and shift things to our portal, that obviously becomes less possible. So we want to make sure that we give you guys a robust reporting engine that can make sure you guys can get the KPIs that you're looking for. And on top of that, workflows as well. So as you guys want to build email alerts and build approvals, we want to make sure that we can do that on our platform as well. So lots of things coming. Again, I know the last two were more administrative, but they're exciting to me at least. So I want to flash this slide really fast. Again, everything I think we talked about today was around NoticesIQ standard. That is included in your growth suite. I intentionally didn't talk really much about premium. There are some features, obviously, you can see there as well. Would love to go more in depth on them, but I want to make sure I save some time for Steven and PJ. So, as always, we'll probably have time at the end if you guys have questions, but I'm going to let Steven and PJ go first, and then if we have time, I will certainly answer any questions that we have. So, you guys are up.
Everyone for coming out here today. Why don't we go ahead and jump right in, PJ? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about ARC? And,
Yeah. I'm PJ Roberts. I've been with ARC for about 4 years. I'm a manager of logistics, and we're a very distinct kind of niche company. So we're a government contractor, obviously, but we actually own and operate a fleet of about 10 or 11 roll-on, roll-off carrier like cargo ships, essentially. So the big difference between like a traditional cargo ship and ours is there's a large ramp that gets deployed and you can drive vehicles or tow vehicles on. So it makes it very appealing for the Department of Defense as well as the U.S. Army for large unit moves, redeployments, and sustainment cargo. Recently, we've kind of been tapping into our sister company, Wallenius Wilhelmsen, who's a global company, and trying to get some multi-award-based contracts with their help for ancillary services. So end-to-end transportation requires a lot of inland logistics, and it's gotten us into some multi-award-based contracts, which we'll dive into briefly.
That's awesome. It's really cool the work you guys are doing and kind of niche in that, and what y'all are facing. Which kind of leads to my next question is, when you first came to engage TechnoMile, what were some of the business challenges you guys were facing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, as I mentioned, we're on a lot of these multi-award IDIQ contracts now. So you're on a contract with like 10 or 11 other primes, and they issue task orders, and then everybody competes, all the primes compete on a task order. So now that we've got several of them, we see some of them dropping new task orders daily, 2 to 3 a day. It can really stack up. So there was a real disparity with organization and what our pipeline really looked like, especially when we were trying to report this up to senior management. So we needed some type of a repository and one source of record that could basically house all of our current task orders that are in our pipeline that's not sitting on someone's Excel spreadsheet or in an email somewhere on someone's computer.
Yeah, so as you began thinking about that business challenge, you started down the road of everyone's favorite thing, which is evaluating software. That's so much fun.
Right.
But as you guys were doing that, what was the process that led you to TechnoMile?
Yeah, it was a really interesting ask when we went out to market and tried to get some market intelligence and see what your competitors were really offering. And the tough thing for us is we're not in these U.S. military contracts are a little bit different than like GSA eBuy that has a portal that's very easy to export out of. These task orders come in, which is crazy, but it's, they come in as a body of an email with like a CSV attachment. And so that is a nightmare when you're trying to think about the hours you spend trying to take these and put them into some type of a pipeline or an Excel spreadsheet. And so we thought there had to be a company that'd be willing to, explore this and invest with us. And so we really needed someone with AI technology who could suck in all of our, task orders that come in via email. Some information is in the body of the email, some is in an attachment, and then scrape all of that and pull out pertinent data, which is like location, period of performance, place of performance, RFP due date, a synopsis of what the requirement is. And yeah, that's how we found TechnoMile.
That's awesome. And the timing was actually perfect because we were just beginning to really reimagine how FedTom worked, task order management, and really build it out with those AI capabilities. And you guys were like, that's awesome. I want to be on board with this.
Yeah.
And y'all were very early adopters of it. Would you share a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, the experience was great between customer success and then Grant and the product management team. I mean, it felt like a very tailor-made situation for our exact business, which was strange, but now you're starting to see this explode, and some of your competitors are trying to get into this market too, so very successful, and TechnoMile was on the front end of it, which is awesome. And, there were times, I know Grant said, like whether I wanted to be on a call or not. I think I would flip that. I would call him every day and I'd be like, hey, Grant, this is great, but is there any way we could do this? And he would say, okay, no problem. Give me a couple days. He'd come back with a solution ready to deploy. And it just felt very tailored. It also kind of like alluded to that TechnoMile's listening to the customer and trying to create a product that's actually going to work.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I don't know anyone that doesn't love getting on a phone call with Grant. It's like, he's the OG.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But I will say, the whole entire ARC team, y'all are just incredibly kind, generous people, great business partners, and we truly enjoy working with you through that process. So
thank you.
Appreciate that much. You guys have been up live now for a couple months and running?
Yeah. So we're fully deployed to about half of our company now. We're a small shop, so we have about 30 people in Florida. And about 10 in Bremerhaven, Germany. Large business in government standards due to revenue, but we operate like a small business. So this was really key in getting everybody on the same sheet of music, so to say. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, the feedback from our executive committee is great. We're able to just pull up a pipeline and show exactly what we're working on and what we're not working on and why. And, we just didn't have that kind of capability before. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with TechnoMile with us, because the ingestion is one thing, but now we can take that and use some of the business intelligence tools that are built in and kind of elaborate on our pipeline, can get some nice visuals and, all at the click of the button, all dynamic. Yeah. And it's great.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you seen any efficiencies or improvements?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot. And I mean, we're probably saving for our team, at least 10 hours a week of just manual data entry, then going into analyzing each task order. Is this a fit for us? Where the minute we get an email, a minute later, it's sucked into TechnoMile. And then anybody on our team, European or domestic here in the States, can look at it and kind of say, okay, are we going to go after this or not?
That's awesome. I thought you were going to say 6, 7 there. I was going to, all right, man, because I led you into it. I was like, how many?
Exactly, exactly.
6, 7.
Yep.
So no, I get it. Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate having this conversation with me here and with the team. And I do encourage you, if you have additional questions for him, grab them in the hallway.
Yeah,
ask those questions.
Please do.
About that. We do have a little bit of time left, so I'd love to open it up for questions from the audience here.
Leslie.
So I'm making an assumption because I'm a user of FedTom. So with the Sparks, as you move something from notices into a Spark and then eventually into an opportunity, as those new updates come in, amendments, they just automatically go into whatever stage it's in.
Exactly. They just keep going into that same Spark record. So yeah, no, the amendments, they all get consolidated down into that one Spark record. We don't want to
Sparks again gotten
ingest it.
to an opportunity.
Yeah, so the Spark stays there. It just stays connected to your opportunity. And that way, we just keep feeding that Spark because we don't want to touch your opportunity. So, and then they're linked together and you can easily see that. Yeah. Can an opportunity become a Spark? Later on in his life cycle. So from the GovSearch AI side, we get in trouble with our nomenclature a lot in TechnoMile. So kind of. So once it's in your CRM as an opportunity, I would say you probably don't want to convert it back to a Spark. You can still link it to a Spark. So you can still, many people, hopefully your team is creating opportunities before they're ever released as a solicitation, whatever it may be, whether they're released on, a vehicle. So you can still link it to a Spark once that opportunity is created. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned you're being with FedRAMP moderate. Just to make sure I'm on the same page, that means that anything that is a FedRAMP high vehicle would not be able to be adjusted.
I believe that's true. Honestly, we're probably going to have to bring Aaron to confirm that. I don't want to speak out of turn. So yes, I believe that's true though. Yeah,
I don't know if this is something that NoticesIQ does yet.
sure.
Now, but does it do any analytics on like potential competitors or partners?
Great question. So the answer is right now, no. So as I mentioned, we moved it onto this platform. We want to integrate it even further in the GovSearch AI. So yeah, absolutely. We want to take the details that we get from a notice, and again, we know who's already on that vehicle. We know how much work they've won, and so we can easily start to dissect that and say, all right, typically when a notice comes out on Oasis Small Business, these are the 5 partners or competitors who have won the most awards on that NAICS code or that send code from eBuy. So absolutely something we're looking to do. Yeah, go ahead.
For a notify team feature, do the recipients have to be Salesforce users or you can
Nope, they do not. So, sorry, I guess keep forgetting. If you guys can't hear the question was, if you notify the users, do they have to be CRM users? The answer is no. So they have to be GovSearch AI users. But as we talked about, this is now enterprise-wide. So anyone in your company is able to get access to this. So anyone in the company can be notified. They just have to log into GovSearch AI at least once to make sure they get a user, or you guys can onboard them yourselves. Yeah.
taking, for example, this opportunity.
Sure.
It goes down to Department of Defense and the Department of Navy, but it is technically a NAVC opportunity. How many layers down?
Yeah, no, great question. So what we will always show is at least 1, so that's where it depends. And then it will go down at least 3, so not to the 3rd level, but anything below level 3, basically. So how we think of it is agency, sub-agency, and then office can be anywhere level 3 and below. So I would have to take a look at this one. Again, this was my fake data, so that might be why it doesn't have the office. But yeah, it will go down to that. It'll take the bottom level that it finds and display that, and then always display level 1 and 2 above it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Question about Mila.
sure.
I know other AI tools, they kind of learn from previous questions you've asked them and they build on that. So for Mila, for this, is it per opportunity or does it get confused? Like, sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the context setting is by default to the record you're on. So yeah, it's going to start with the record you're on. Again, I think Kevin was mentioning it earlier, like we're going to greatly expand on Mila. So Mila is going to ultimately become like the global search, and it's going to have context to a lot more stuff. But right now we are going to start with it on a record by record basis, so you can ask more in-depth questions about this particular record. And then as we expand it, you'll be able to ask about other records in the system. The question was, when is Mila going to be available? I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that yet. So that'll be, I think, talked about in the next session in the main room when Mick, Aaron, and Kevin go over the roadmap. So anyway. Anyone else? Yeah.
This is a question from our competitive intelligence lead, that using the Spark object, are we able to like upload potential opportunities or like assign an opportunity to kind of do that within the system?
Sure. So the question for everyone was basically, can you bulk upload to Spark? There are probably some ways I can think of to do it. I would probably have to look into it a little bit more. In theory, we want to make sure Sparks are connected to GovSearch AI. So I think as long as you have, an RFX ID, a contract number, whatever it may be, I think in theory, yes. I would just have to confirm it. I'm not sure I've done it before, so. Got a lot from this side of the room. Anything over there? Yeah, go ahead.
The library and like task orders on NoticesIQ.
Yeah.
How long are they available?
Excellent question. So the question is, how long are all the notices that we ingest available? They are yours. They are available for as long as you want. So there is the ability, I don't know if I have it up here, but anyway, there's the ability to request an export if you ever want it. But no, these notices are staying out here. I think one of the questions in an earlier session was basically about these notices. How would I ever get back to the original, RFP documentation? This is how. This is a repository that's going to stay with you guys for as long as you're TechnoMile customers. This data is yours and yours to access. So we don't delete them. We don't take them off the platform. You can always search for them and find them back. Sorry. Yes, that does start when you start using it. We don't go backwards in time.
For market research notices that occur across multiple vehicles, does NoticesIQ do that?
Yeah, great question. The answer right now is no. We wanted to. But right now, we kind of treat a notice as we look at the vehicle it's on and then its ID, and that's how we determine uniqueness. We want to make sure we don't miss any, and that's why we did it that way to start. But we recognize that there are notices that are published across multiple vehicles that we want to consolidate down. So working on the exact logistics of that, but yeah, especially with the market researches, we do see some duplicates come in.
Part of the question before you was assigning these people within Salesforce within Spark. Is that in this portal or is that once we have the Spark in Salesforce?
Yeah, the Spark is in Salesforce, so yeah, you could still assign the owner to the Spark, and it would not be in this portal now. Yeah.
How would you qualify if this is a request for a quote or
Yeah, great question. There is a field, again, it probably is because I created this notice and didn't include it in it, but there is a field that will tell you basically what type of notice it is. So if it's an RFI, RFQ, RFP, that is all tracked as well. Yeah.
the key capabilities?
Yeah.
Is that TechnoMile established? Is that we cater that towards
Sure.
ourselves or towards our business unit?
Yeah, all right, so the question was around capabilities and how those are determined. So those are TechnoMile determined at this point. So we have our library of key capabilities, and we are basically comparing the task order and its notices and its attachments that come out against our library, and we're assigning them for now. A very common question is basically, can I bring my own capabilities? Can I? The answer right now is no, but we are working towards that to figure out how we can let you guys expand the capability library that's out there, and then ultimately, be able to assign, hopefully with that, workflow automation I was talking about, be able to automatically assign these out to users based on the capability. Keep going.
So with that, I completely understand that.
Sure.
We have a back-end database that helps us with past performance.
Okay.
And so are you able to share your definitions of key capabilities and I can leverage it out to our team?
I mean, yeah, we're willing to share. Excellent. Yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
So emails, you talked about email ingestion. I just want to clarify, so is it a forwarding situation? We set you up as an email?
Yeah, so it really depends vehicle to vehicle, but we will set up an email on our side. So again, let's see if I have any set up here, actually, I can show you. But yes, we are going to set up there we go. So you can see here, these are obviously example ones that we have, but we can set them up. We basically set up one per vehicle. This is just to make sure that when a notice comes out, we know which vehicle it's on, because they don't always say. And then you guys can either forward, you can send them manually. It doesn't really matter to us as long as it gets to that email, we'll pick it up. And this can be, again, what's very different about the FedTom system is this can be emails within emails. We can go like 3 levels deep. So if someone forwarded to you, you can forward it back into the system. It's going to go through those levels to pick up the details and put them in. So it does not need to be templated anymore. The only reason there are multiple emails is to make sure we get the vehicle right, because that was very important to me. So otherwise, we could, in theory, do it with one, but we wanted to make sure we got those details right. Yeah.
Is this completely replacing the old task order management system?
Yeah, so the question is this completely replacing Tom? Yes, is the short answer. So yeah, we want to get people off of the old task order management. We feel it has too many drawbacks at this point. So this is, at least we feel, much more robust. And
So if we already have your growth
yeah.
package, whatever, then will it automatically update into whatever implementation we have?
Excellent question. I can plug Steven here. So there is a little bit of a process involved because the ingestion was very different, and we want to make sure we don't confuse users. So there is a little bit of a process involved. Talk to your CSM. They will get you scheduled. We usually do basically like a week of we ingest for both so you can see it. Once you're good, we just cut off the old, and you start using the new.
What is your rate of success and how has it improved over time with ingesting all of this data?
You guys should ask that to PJ. No, it has improved a lot over the last couple of months. So again, as I talked about that kind of spam filter, initially on trying to really make sure we have the most common ways that the government will call out a title or an RFX ID or due date to make sure that we can find those pieces of information. So the success rate, I don't know exactly what it was early in the days. I'll give it 60%. It is much higher now. I'm going to say in the 90s. So we're seeing a lot better returns now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So with that, does a record have to have all three of those things, the title, the number, and the date? For
Right.
the system to ingest it?
Right now it does. And again, the idea behind that, we know that there are some out there that don't always have a date depending on what type they are. And so we're investigating ways, but things like the ID, we need a way to tie them together and make sure that we're not just flooding the system with a bunch of random emails. So we are always open to feedback. If you guys have samples that do not have those, but you know they're real ID, they're real notices, let us know. Happy to take a look at them and figure out what we can do about them.
Is that ID generally an alphanumeric?
Yeah,
For an alphanumeric?
yeah, either solicitation number or, eBay has obviously theirs, which aren't emails, but yeah, it's usually those alphanumeric. And like the title is pretty, the system will usually take like, oh yeah, I gotta hurry up. The system will usually take like the subject line if it needs to and create that as a title, but the ID and the proposal due date are the ones.
I gotta wrap it up. I got a signal to wrap it up for that. So I'll wrap it up and then you can talk.
You can find me out there.
Want to give a big thank you to PJ again and the ARC team for being a part of the session today. Yep. Today's session is being recorded and it will be sent to all of the attendees later this month. Right now we're going to take a 15-minute break. After that, at 2:15, we will have another breakout session, Agentic Fueled Capture, Transforming Execution with Intelligent Automation. I feel smart saying that. Note that if you're planning to attend the Supercharging Pre-Award Analysis with AI, also feel smart, session next, you'll want to head to the room next door. We'll stick around for a few minutes. Please stop by the CX Lounge. Talk to your CSM about this if you have not talked to them yet about it. Each of you have kind of different experiences with your task orders and how that looks in your system. So we want to have that nuanced conversation with you. I hope you all had a great day and talk to you here soon.